Welcome to another edition of Our City. A few things going around the city of Elizabeth. I'd like to remind everyone that City Hall will be closed on Thursday, July 4th and Friday, July 5th in honor of Independence Day. July 4th, the city of Elizabeth will celebrate at the Veterans Memorial Waterfront Park on Front Street in our city. The fireworks show begins at dusk, which is approximately 9:15 in the evening. We'd like to wish everyone a safe and happy 4th of July and 4th of July weekend. If you need any more events concerning these events or any other events, please call our Public Information Office at 908-820-4124. And now I'm pleased to be joined on this week's show by the Mayor of Berkeley Heights, Miss Angie Devanney. Mayor, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
It's good to call you Mayor.
Yes.
You're in your second year now?
I am in my 6th month.
You're in your 6th month?
Yes.
So maybe I'm wishing it goes faster or
yes.
not?
Well, some days you wish that, other days it's okay. You know how that is.
So tell us about yourself first. How do you get there to be the mayor?
It's something that I never expected that I would ever do. I had the good fortune of starting my career off with the mayor of Elizabeth. I think 26 years ago. I worked for you 26 years ago.
Is it 26?
About that, absolutely. I remember one of my first projects that I really felt like I could effectuate change in local government and really fell in love with local government was the tree planting on First Avenue, and really improving the look of that street and seeing the residents and the improvement that we can make. So you've been a mentor to me for a very long time.
So it's funny you say that because this year I launched another tree program, and my goal is in 2 years to plant 2,500 trees in the city of Elizabeth. So I followed up on that on First Avenue, what you talked about, to now 2,500 to the whole city.
That's fantastic.
So 26 years ago, what were you, 15?
Yes, yeah. I wish. No, not quite. No, I was always somebody who was probably more comfortable behind the scenes. I started off in the Public Information Office working for you. From there, I did a few campaigns, one for Governor McGreevey before he was the governor. Eventually landed at
You worked on his mayor's race?
I did not.
Oh, you worked on a governor's race?
The gubernatorial, yes.
The one he lost?
Yes, I was the first staff person on the exploratory committee. From there, I went to the gubernatorial campaign as the political director. From there, I did another campaign in Bergen County, a county race. Somebody told me that I needed to get a job in government and have health benefits and a pension and be a responsible adult.
Good advice, right?
Good advice, yeah, very good advice. So from there, I went to the County of Union, where I became the Open Space Trust Fund Administrator. At that point, we were looking at a property in Berkeley Heights, Snyder Avenue, which became the crown jewel in Berkeley Heights. Got the attention, I suppose, of the governing body there, who offered me a job as a township administrator. So I did that job for a number of years. Decided to leave and start my own business, more so I would have the opportunity to volunteer for my kids in their school. Served as a PTO president and then the PAL secretary. Eventually just noticed that things in town were declining, especially as a township administrator. I really understood what it took to run the day-to-day operations, and said, geez, somebody who knows what they're doing and is qualified should run for mayor, and sort of had that moment where I had to look in the mirror and said, geez, it might have to be me. And so I decided to launch my elected career, which is, again, something I never expected. Very happy being behind the scenes, but here I am.
When you launched your career, were you the for mayor, were you the current business administrator and stepped down, or you stepped down a little bit before that?
I stepped down 13, 14 years ago.
Before that.
So right. Yeah, I was the township administrator, more than a decade ago. Had been in private business.
So the players all changed too?
Yes, to some degree, yep. I mean, the residents definitely have changed, and we ran a purple campaign. We talked about Republicans and Democrats coming together and making the color purple, but it was also about people who were feeling marginalized because we have a growing diverse population, and they didn't always feel like they had a place within their government. Some of our volunteers didn't feel like they had a place within their government. So purple became sort of a symbol for people who wanted to do more or wanted a voice. So I think that's in part why we were so successful in November.
How many people in Berkeley Heights?
13,500.
And you know them all?
Almost.
Almost.
I'm getting close. I'm getting another 6 months and I might know them all.
So when you launched your campaign for mayor, did you do a door walking campaign? Did you do a social media campaign, combination of both? What exactly did you do?
Combination of both, and it's sort of unheard. I know you're probably one of the best retail politicians and knock on.
That's how I got here, was knocking on doors.
Yeah, absolutely, and I have been a part of that with you, and so I believe
You went door to door with me.
I did go door to door
I
with
know.
you, absolutely, so I knew how it was done. I knocked on 1,100 doors in Berkeley Heights, which is unprecedented. Nobody's ever done that. But we also had a big social media push. And part of our allure, even now in government, is we sort of take this more laid-back approach. I mean, we've done things like, the night that we got the county grant for the infrastructure, we literally took a big check to TD Bank in my car, my business administrator and I, and we tried to cash it, put that on social media. People really respond to that. They in our town in particular, what has happened in
So you did more than just take a picture when you got the check, you actually went to the bank.
We did, and we tried to cash it, yeah, to the surprise of the teller.
I was,
It was pretty funny.
did the teller have a heads up?
My business administrator called and said, the mayor and I are coming over and we have a large check we would like to cash.
A large
And
check.
they took that to mean, a substantially, monetarily type of thing, not a physically large check. But they were laughing. They thought it was pretty unique. But we're trying to be more relatable. That I'm a PTO mom. I sit on a baseball, softball, dance, competition field all the time. I know what people are going through, I think, and that's why we're trying to help improve the community.
So your first position in government was working here in the city, but your first elected position is mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, not be.
Never held any other elected position. I'm actually the first elected woman in Berkeley Heights.
No women have been elected there?
Not elected. Township form of government previous to 2007. There was one woman who was, if you rotate and everyone gets a turn, there was one woman who got a turn, but not a woman who's been elected.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
You would think Berkeley Heights kind of moved in that direction a little sooner.
It's interesting, and again, I think we have a lot of crossover Republican support, but 2 weeks before the election, I think it was NJO, Star Ledger wrote that Berkeley Heights was the most Republican town in Union County. And I think I, at least in the last 20 years, had the largest plurality as a Democrat in the last 20, 25 years.
Has there been a Democratic mayor there?
There has.
Years ago.
Yeah, back in the 80s, Ted Romanko, Tom Battaglia, some names that you probably,
Right.
recall.
They were mayors, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you've been the mayor 6 months, you told me at the top of the show.
Yes.
And is it what you expected? Is it more than what you expected? Or is there like, wow?
There are days that it's definitely wow. I think in the beginning, there's so much going on for such a small town. We had a judgment of repose back in 2017, so we have essentially been sued by 6 or 7 builders. So we have 6 or 7, as it relates to our affordable housing obligation. So we have 6 or 7 development projects going on simultaneously or getting ready, shovels in the ground. We have a large YMCA project that's going on that we have to push along those approvals. And then we have a $32 million municipal complex building that we're building literally in our backyard. So will
that replace City Hall and everything?
That will, yes, we're going
Police headquarters, what are you doing in that?
Yep, library, police headquarters, recreation space, senior space, administrative offices. And that is scheduled to be done early 2020. And our population growth as a result of this JOR, we could see 1,000 new units by 2021, and that's a significant change in our population. So there's infrastructure planning, there's public safety planning, we have a volunteer fire department, we don't have a paid fire department. How do you balance all those needs with the potential of all these new residents?
So you're not the smallest town in Union County, but you're one of the, Winfield Park is way smaller than all of us.
Yes.
So.
But we're under New Providence, we're slightly under New Providence, certainly under Scotch Plains. Yeah, we're one of the smaller municipalities.
Fanwood, maybe?
Fanwood might be smaller.
Might be.
Yeah.
So, is there something surprised you being mayor?
Just the level of how busy we are. And I shouldn't have been surprised by that, by being township administrator,
Yeah, really.
Personnel issues, constituent
They never go away.
concerns. Yeah, that's
Whether you
always
got a
there.
small town or a big town, there's always a personnel issue.
That's the same.
You could have a couple hundred employees like you do, or you
Right.
can have over 1,000 like I do. Personnel issues are always on your desk at some point.
Always on your desk, take up a lot of time, You have the resident concerns that you always want to address in a timely fashion. That obviously it takes up time. I tried to be, as I know you do, very connected to the community, get to as many community events as possible. I've already performed, I think, 10 weddings, which is surprising to me that many people would come through
10?
Berkeley. 10, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. But that's been a great part of the job. You know, those are the things that you look forward to.
You do them in the office, or you travel? You were traveling
Well,
there?
if you saw Town Hall, it's not very attractive right now. That's why we're building a new one. So we do it in council chambers, and we do the best that we can. But it's a very old, dilapidated building.
Is that bad, huh?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
So female politicians are always asked this question more than male politicians, but you are also the mother of two, and you have a full-time job, and you're the mayor. And so why do we ask female politicians this question? Well, we always do. How do you balance it all?
I think because often we're the primary caregivers of our children and maybe our parents, and we're sort of in that position. It's hard. You know, there are days that are hard. I remember during the campaign thinking my opponent was a man, probably, I think, mid-60s, and I would always be sort of tossing in a load of laundry, taking a call from a client, making sure my kids had dinner before I could get out the door to go door to door. So I do think it's different, and you do have to try to balance the best that you can. I've got a good support system, not just with my family and my husband, but my PTO moms, my dance moms. They pick up the slack when I can't, and they're happy to do that.
So that plays into the community connecting.
Yes, very much so.
In a big way.
Very much so.
Not only do you do it as a role in your role as your mother, but also in a role of PTO president and everything else, and mayor. So before we go to break, we have a lighthearted baseball bet, and I want you to tell our viewers what that bet's all about.
So I think on a number of occasions this year, Elizabeth High School has played Governor Livingston High School, correct? And I would text you before the game and say, would you like to place a friendly wager, right? So if I won, you had to treat me to lunch somewhere in Elizabeth. And if Elizabeth won, I would have to treat you to lunch somewhere in Berkeley Heights. So I'm happy to say that I have been the benefactor of one lunch so far.
I know, and I missed betting you on the girls' games.
Yeah, you should have.
And I should have bet you on the girls.
Now you're smarter about it.
I know, because our girl, my neighbor, Emma, is the starting second baseman. And I text her, and they beat you, the girls' team.
They did.
But your son is on the boys' team.
My son is on the boys' team, so it makes it a little personal for
Right.
me. But my daughter does play softball. She's 10. She's also a pitcher, so it's only a matter of time before that wager becomes personal between us two.
Oh, because
a couple more years. More years.
So we're going to take a break and
Okay.
come back and talk more about Berkeley Heights. Please stay with us after these messages. Back with more with Mayor Angie Devanney of Berkeley Heights.
Just minutes from New York City, we are the gateway to the state of New Jersey. Experience Elizabeth. It all starts here. 6 minutes from New York City, we are the gateway to the state of New Jersey. Experience Elizabeth. It all starts here.
Welcome back to our city, where I'm pleased to be joined by Angie Devanney, the mayor of Berkeley Heights. So, Mayor, when you worked here many years ago, which you told me was 26, I didn't know it was that long ago, when I was a college student, I participated in a Model United Nations. And I asked you if you would develop one here in the city of Elizabeth. And you did, and it was extremely successful for a number of years. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we have had a number of nations. We came up with some topics. We worked with the Elizabeth Board of Education or some of the teachers there, some advisors. We had the students prepped with their countries and some of the more topical issues that were going on. I think we had a panel of judges, if I recall. And then you and I, before, we would go into the school and sort of promote the program and try to get the students excited about it. And if anybody knows Tony Teixeira, he has an imaginary story where he said, I was wearing a bun and they all asked me if I was your wife or something like that. That's kind of silly to this day that not quite sure is true, but I think he made it up. But it was great fun talking to the kids and getting them excited. And if I recall, I think that program continued for several years after.
It did. The program you started continued for many years until the Board of Ed stopped talking to me. And
well,
now that the Board of Ed, yeah, I know, but now that the Board of Ed's talking to me again, maybe we can figure out a way to start a program. Did you ever, Berkeley Heights ever do anything like that? You know if the high schools ever done it?
We have not that I know of, but there's a couple of programs that we want to launch. That would be a great idea. I actually did an interview with the Governor Livingston journalism class about a week ago. And they asked me all kinds of questions, which very unfettered, whatever they wanted to ask. It was great. And then one of the ideas that they had is they want to create some sort of advisory group to the mayor to sort of get the team perspective or the younger resident perspective.
We have one of those in our health department. We have a teenage group that advises the mayor. I don't get to all of the meetings because they're right after school sometimes and my schedule conflicts, but we have some directors who meet with them and they talk about issues that can advise them. The only problem is once they age out at high school, they have no interest in doing it anymore.
Right.
So it's usually a 1 or 2 year thing, and if you can't continue the interest, it gets more difficult.
Oh, I'd love to get more information from you about how to start that.
It's just a matter of how you get some kids together that want to do it.
Right.
So
I think it's important to hear their voice.
Oh, more important than anything else.
Right.
We get to learn from them as well.
Yeah.
So when you were in public information and you worked here, you talked about 2 programs, the tree program on First Avenue and the Model United Nations program. Are there any other programs that kind of jumped out at you that maybe you did something back then that you're going to take to Berkeley Heights?
I just think, again, I learned from you in terms of just that connectivity to the community, the door-to-door when you're campaigning, the being present at events, making sure that you're honoring people, whether it's a proclamation. Something happened this weekend which was really interesting. We had a local business owner. His family actually has been there for 50 years. And one of his colleagues reached out to me who happened to be a chiropractor, and he said, I know this is last minute, this is Friday afternoon, would you mind coming and surprising him with a proclamation? So we had it written up very quickly, and I did. It was only like 10 people at this little celebration, and I said, I have a surprise, can I read this proclamation? And I did that, and I turned to him, and he was teary-eyed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it's those moments.
That's probably the thing, that even after all these years, the thing that I can't get over the most is when the mayor shows up, it's a big deal with people.
It is.
I just think it's Chris going to a dinner.
Right.
To them, it's the mayor showing up.
And that's been sort of something that I've had to get used to because I still feel like me. And
it's just Angie
my kids
coming, right?
humble me every day and tell me that I'm no better than anybody else or different than anybody else. So when you have those experiences, you lose sight of the fact that it is an important office. Probably more important, everyone sort of knows what a mayor is, maybe not a freeholder, maybe not a congressperson as much or understands the work that they do. But they know the mayor.
They know you in the ShopRite.
Absolutely.
Or whatever your supermarket is up there.
Yes, Stop and Shop.
Yeah, Stop and Shop.
Stop and Shop, yeah.
Yeah, so whatever you go to up there, if you're walking the cart up and down the aisle, they know who you are.
Yeah, can't go in there without makeup anymore,
Yeah.
Or maybe I should, it'd be incognito.
Because they all want to take a picture.
Well, yes.
Yeah, right? They want to take a picture with the mayor in a shopping cart.
That's an interesting thing,
So you better have
too.
to wear makeup.
Yeah.
So
I try to put my best foot forward when I go
Where's your
out.
favorite places in town? Where do you spend time with?
My favorite restaurants or my favorite?
Yeah, pick a place. I mean, I know your favorite restaurant, right?
I have a few. Well, probably like 4.
Give them a plug.
Strega is excellent. Delicious Heights is excellent. Trap Rock is excellent.
Delicious Heights, I've been there with you.
Delicious Heights is great. Yeah, and Trap Rock is great because it's a microbrew. when I was a township administrator, we were courting the New York Jets, and we did this green and white fireworks display, and I had Berkeley Heights Trap Rock beer delivered to New York, trying to persuade them to put their practice facility up at the Connell site. We failed, but that's okay, yeah.
Do you have Goodman's?
We do.
That's formerly from Elizabeth.
Absolutely.
It's totally different owners.
Totally different owners.
But if you go into Goodman's, there's still some Elizabeth memorabilia.
A lot of
Yeah.
Elizabeth memorabilia, actually.
I didn't know if it was in your town or Warren. the next
No,
one.
no, it's in
you,
Berkeley
right?
Heights. Yep, in the Stop and Shop center there. Yeah,
Yeah, that's where it is, right?
Go there
'Cause I was-
frequently.
I was there one day.
Excellent sandwiches.
So what do people get wrong about Berkeley Heights? Is there a thing they get wrong about it?
That's a great question. Again, I'm gonna go back to, I think it's a changing community of diverse people. It's not sort of this homogenous group of people up on the ridge, if you catch my
That's
drift.
probably what they get wrong about it, right? Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I think it's a diverse group of people. I think we're growing in our diversity. We have a Chinese school that just relocated there.
A Chinese school?
Yep.
That seems fascinating.
It is, and they it's a growing community there. We have a growing Latino population. We have a growing African American population. Our diversity council is doing great things. I'm super proud of them. They've really expanded in the last year or two, and it hasn't sometimes been easy. They're outside of their comfort level, trying to get people to embrace the diversity that maybe hasn't in the past. Working with our Italian American community who founded the township, and how we can all work together as different groups. So I think that's probably one of the misnomers about Berkeley Heights.
And one thing that we have in common, and we also approach it from different ways, is the legislature and how they deal with the affordable housing issue.
Right.
And how are you dealing with it in Berkeley Heights?
So as I mentioned, because we have a judgment of repose, because our affordable housing obligation wasn't met, we were sued. And I think that people have the perception that maybe those of us in suburbia are against affordable housing, and that's certainly not the case. Again, these are things that we absolutely embrace. The problem comes from all the market rate units that far exceed the affordable housing. So when I tell you we're going to get 1,000 new units in the next year and a half, 2 years, that's a huge population change. And there's not a whole lot of time to deal with it financially or from a planning perspective or population perspective. So that's really been the concern. And the next round is coming in 2025, and we're in a fairly good position as a result of the JOR. But who knows what changes in the policy come along that are going to adversely impact us again. I mean, we can't get 2,000 more people again.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that people ask me what I think of the state legislature, and I'm always rooting for them to be on vacation. I'm always kind of hoping they're not in.
Just
in
let it go.
session. Yeah, just let it go.
Yeah, let it go.
So I think one of the things that I always look at is, do you think Union County or some other towns might mimic something you do? And you say, hey, I did a good job. Look, so-and-so is now following our lead.
So as soon as I did a shared service with DPW, for our DPW director, with the county DPW director.
We have a shared service, don't we?
We do.
We do.
We do,
Yeah.
yes. So one of the things that I did was a shared service with the county DPW director, and there was a lot of resistance to it, but it is working out incredibly well. And I know that there have been other towns like New Providence and some others who've asked to do a similar type of thing. Plus, again, I think our social media, the way we approach social media, my business administrator and the chair of our communications committee from 2 different parties, supported 2 different teams totally. They get together and they do this weekly video, and it's kind of silly, but it outlines all the events that are going on this week, sort of gives the residents a look at what's coming up or development projects. And I think it's better than just having static words. So I think we've done a good job, and I'm starting to see people replicate our social media program in government.
So, Mayor, I want to thank you for taking the time to
Thank
come
you.
off the ridge, as you said earlier, and come to Elizabeth, and welcome back to where it all started
I
for
feel
you.
at home here.
I know, and I appreciate all the work that you do, not only that you did here, but that you're doing as a mayor of Berkeley Heights. I wish you lots of luck.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it.
For Angie Devanney, the mayor of Berkeley Heights, I'm Chris Bolwage, and we'll see you next week on another edition of Our City.